hopefully going to be a very informative meeting. Our focus today is going to be upon how we are reacting to the current COVID crisis and how it is affecting the different areas of commercial real estate, primarily in the Valley. We have a couple of different speakers today. Definitely want to introduce Roger Thompson, who some of you may already know. And we also have Maggie Montez, who will be speaking with us today. And Doria should be joining us as well. But this should be a very, very informative meeting. As always, we have Robin, our past president, here with us. Robin, do you have anything that you would like to say?
Not yet.
Okay, will do. If everybody's okay, we can go ahead and just jump right in. Roger, are you ready to go forward? Maybe start a little bit with telling us about yourself.
Roger Thompson. I have been a commercial real estate broker for approximately 20 years. Currently owner of Thompson Commercial Real Estate Investment Services here in Redlands. We primarily are an investment brokerage. I would say probably historically, over the last probably 20 years, about 50% of my business is within Southern California, and the other, or within California, and the other 50% has been out of state. That has changed a bit in the last, since the beginning of the year. I would probably say 60% has been within California and 40% has been out of state. But I expect that trend to reverse soon.
Excellent. And what have you seen so far in regards to the effect that COVID has had on your investment aspect?
Well, it's certainly slowed down. As you know, I think that's a trend that we've seen in the commercial real estate industry. It has slowed down. It's there's a great deal of money on the sideline. Even with interest rates at historic lows, I think that primarily what I have seen, there's been in Southern California has been a large increase in financing by way of SBA with owner users. Not too much. I haven't seen too much on the investment side. I just think the cap rates are too low to justify pushing debt into these properties. But again, of the family trusts that I represent, normally we're not dealing that much with debt. It's pretty much just 1031 exchange money moving around. But it has slowed down a great deal.
So is that the same for construction as well?
Maggie would probably have a better idea as far as new start construction. I know here in the Inland Empire, industrial has kind of led the charge, over the last 10 years. We've had an increase in office absorption. It's going to be interesting to see. It's kind of funny with this COVID-19. I think we're just seeing the beginning stages of what is to come with regards to the office and retail sectors, especially in office. It's a very unique time.
Excellent. Are you preparing in any special way for what you're expecting to happen in regards to the office?
No, as far as business direction, no, we're just going to keep, I've been doing it 20 years. This obviously is something I've never seen before, but no, we're just going to keep charging ahead. I do think that with a lot of the family trusts that I represent, what we're looking at, not only with COVID, but with some of the other propositions, which we'll probably get into later, probably looking at moving assets, moving on from assets in California and moving out of state.
Excellent.
Seems to be a
And,
trend.
excellent. And Maggie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for those who might possibly not know who you are.
I know, I've been around a long time. That's the case. I'm Maggie Montez, and I'm the owner of Lee and Associates. We do property management and commercial sales and leasing. I've been doing commercial real estate in the Coachella Valley for more than 30 years. I like to pretend that I started at 12 years old, but that's not the case. And it's been actually, I guess in the end of March and April, I kind of expected Armageddon. So I'm pleasantly surprised at how much business has remained. I'm not sure that we don't have a wave coming, given how long we've been closed down. But on the retail side, you know, the really tough ones that just are not making it right now are hair salons. We've seen a lot of hair salon spaces get turned back in, and the smaller fitness centers. Some of the small independent yoga operators and that sort of thing. Again, they've just been closed down so long. And from the latest from our governor, you know, probably are not going to be able to open up until closer to the end of the year. So those two sectors have been hit. The restaurants have done a whole lot better than anybody expected. We expected a big wave of restaurant space to come available, and we've had one come available, and it really was an end of a lease term. And so they decided, hey, I don't want to fight this battle anymore, and I'm just not going to renew the lease. So it wasn't even a midnight move or anything like that. And we're already out to lease on the space, because with restaurants, and there always seems to be the next person that's ready to step up to the place. And of course, it's such a good cost savings for them when they can get it already fully fixturized and ready to go. It's such a huge savings to get going in business.
Now, Maggie, do you think that that's particularly to the Coachella Valley, since we went through several decades of being a more seasonal area? Do you think that some of these places are used to having a 4 to 6 month lag, or do you think that the Coachella Valley's moved beyond that?
No, we certainly are busier in the summer than we used to be, but still everyone knows to budget for the summer. The hard part, of course, this year is they usually budget for the summer with the money that they make March, April, which are just, extremely good months for them. But I think, honestly, we had good government programs that stepped in and helped, and everybody cut their costs. But I'm hearing from the people in the industry that those that are doing takeout and are open on the patios, they're paying their expenses, and right now that's a win. I think the tough part's going to be this upcoming season. Number one, how soon are we going to be able to start dining in? Obviously, it would have been nice if we could have when it was 120 degrees and humid outside. But my biggest concern with this next upcoming season is I think a lot of the Canadian tourists are not going to come. It's my understanding that their insurance won't cover if they get COVID in the United States.
Oh.
So between the loss of them and the loss of, I'm assuming we'll have no convention business. We need Southern Californians to make up that difference. So that's what I'm worried about, this second wave, and the businesses that have paid the expenses and are getting by, are they going to be able to sustain that for what might have to be all through next season and summer?
Or asked Roger in regards to new construction. What have you seen in regards to that over the last 6 months?
Oh, not much. We have a project at Monterey and I-10, Monterey Crossing, where we've got signed leases with Chick-fil-A, The Habit, AT&T, Spectrum, and more. And they were just about to pull construction financing in March when all this came tumbling down. And so now it's, it's a whole kind of we've got to go back and look at all the financials. We did have a shops building that had some more mom and pop type of businesses that were going in. And their financials have changed completely, and they're not in a position to put tenant improvements in. So that's going to hold up the financing. It is holding up the financing. The other thing, I have another project in Indio where we're doing Neos Fitness and 2 pad buildings. And the problem is actually the construction bonding that the city's requiring, because they have to put up a bond that they'll get the infrastructure done within a year. Well, they've been pleading with the city to extend that to 2 years, just in case the same thing happens and we have another shutdown.
Okay, excellent. And are you doing anything particular in your business in regards to processes that has benefited you or you think will benefit you in regards to COVID?
I don't know that we've really changed that much. We've always tried to be really hands-on and good with customer service. I think we just, have the time to make sure that we get our client answers that they need and take care of tenants. But actually, where I thought we'd be down 50 to 70%, we're only down about 25, 30%.
Excellent, excellent. Roger, are you seeing the same thing in regards in your area as to drop off of tenancy?
Yeah, as Maggie had mentioned, I don't see a mass exodus as far as tenants vacating. I do see a slowdown as far as leasing on new construction. There is Lewis Communities, Lewis Companies did build that new project there off Cherry Valley, which it seems that leasing that up has been very slow. Other than, the fast food pads out front, those seem to be moving forward with drive-thrus. No, it's, I think this is just a situation where I haven't seen too much change. I mean, if anything, a lot of that I've dealt with personally has been a lot of rent deferrals. That's primarily on behalf of my investor clients working on rent deferrals for tenants. Most of them have been surprisingly fast food drive-thrus, Taco Bells and that. And probably done about 4 of those in the last, early on. It's kind of slowed down now. When COVID kind of hit and everything immediately got shut down, I think there was a panic that set in that I think people are learning to adapt and adjust now that they weren't doing that in April, May, and June. I think there was almost a panic that set in with a lot of these tenants.
I understand. For everybody that's on, if you have any specific questions that you'd like to have asked, please go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll go ahead and field those as they come in. Roger, Maggie, is there anything that you've particularly found helpful in your dealings with tenancy? Roger, you had mentioned the deferrals. Are you doing something along the lines of blending and extending, or are you just foregoing a certain portion of the rent for the term, or how are you seeming to work that?
No, with our clients, what we've done is the deferrals that we had initiated were seeking repayment of lost rent in 2021. obviously the tenants were looking for, rent abatement or an adjustment of the lease terms, which in the 4 cases that I was involved in, that wasn't an option that we planned to move forward with. So of the 4 that we did, after the federal programs, a lot of them have backed down to where they've all caught up on rent. I think all 4 are now current with their rent.
Very nice. Maggie, and what about you? Have you seen anything in regards to that with tenancy?
Yeah, our property management division was just absolutely slammed during the month of April and May with figuring that out for most of the tenants. And I agree that it's pretty well stabilized. We really encouraged all the tenants to apply for the PPP program, to apply for the SBA funding, and a lot of them did. And so they're okay. But on the other hand, there are some tenants, again, like I mentioned, the small fitness. We have one where, the tenant has come to us and done a whole business plan of how they're going to rebuild their business, but it can't start until they can reopen. And they don't know when that's going to be. And so they are really asking for forgiveness. And we're sort of pleading with the landlord in that case to work with forgiveness as much as he can. Because there's no blood left in the turnip, and otherwise you're going to get the space back and you're never going to be making money off. I mean, how long is it going to be till you make money off of it? So in some very select cases, we're really trying to push the landlords to do forgiveness. But for the most part, it's been deferral added on to the end of the term or amortize it over the balance of the term. We tried not to put it into 2021 to get paid back as often as we could, because we just still think 2021 is going to be a pretty tough season for everybody.
And that kind of leads us on to, in your experience, have you seen any landlords that are coming into a point where they're having considerable issues in making mortgages, making sure that their responsibilities are met in regards to their tenancy and their triple nets, I guess?
I haven't had anybody talk about it. I have some landlords on El Paseo that I know really have struggled to get paid, and they just haven't discussed it with me, but I have to wonder about that.
And do you feel that will be more of a banking issue between the owner and the bank, or do you think that will kind of flow down to us?
I think that's going to be between the owner and the bank.
Gotcha. All righty. Still waiting for you guys, all you guys here, to give me a question in the chat. Definitely would enjoy your participation. I'm running out of stuff here. We've got something from Art Miller. In showing commercial property, are the commercial agents using the same forms that were developed by CAR for residential agency? Is that forms or procedures that were developed by CAR for residential agency? I guess, are we going ahead and are we masking up? How are we showing space?
We used the CAR forms for about a week. It's pretty cumbersome. And so I'd have to say we really haven't practiced that. Definitely, I'm always masked. I'm careful about what I touch. I'm using hand sanitizer immediately afterwards, keeping the distance. Most of the clients do that as well. Not to be sexist, but you guys tend to like to wear the mask below the nose a little more than we women do, and to remove it a little bit from your mouth when you want to talk. So the mask and keeping the distance has been pretty important. Okay, and Roger, do you have something on that?
Yeah, I within my business, no, I've not followed the CAR guidelines, but we have since the inception tend to have followed kind of the CDC guidelines with face masks and trying to create a social distance between showing space, and people around. Obviously, no one shakes hands anymore. And I just can't, there's a new trend where I see people, I guess, bumping knuckles or throwing their elbows up, and I just can't do that. If we can't shake hands, we can't shake hands. But I will say this, that one of the, with regards to tenants coming in, I did notice a shift as far as on the leasing side when showing space, that within the months of March, April, and May, I would say probably about 50% of clients or possible tenants actually were wearing masks to come in and look at property. That has since, since about June, July, and even through August, I would say I've noticed it's probably about 80% of people now wear masks on a regular basis. So there has been a little bit of shift in the beginning. It was strange. I don't know if it was kind of strange. I think half the population didn't really take it seriously, and the other half panicked, so it's been an interesting 6-7 months with regards to real estate. So.
Joan McPherson has a question on how are hotels doing now that many are again open? Do you guys have any on how the hotels are doing?
I don't know a whole lot, but Palm Springs hotels, from what I'm hearing, are pretty well booked, and probably to about 70% of what would be their normal levels right about now. And I think for Airbnb, we're in one of the top 10 destinations in the US.
Oh, well, that's excellent. And the casinos, they started up earlier, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again?
The casinos started up earlier with their opening than the regular hotels. Am I correct on that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're open, and I actually even went to the Agua Caliente Casino and ate a meal inside in air conditioning over last weekend, and it was quite lovely.
Oh, okay. Christine Eastling has a question. Are commercial commercial retail rental prices going down? Are we seeing any drop in pricing?
No. I
No?
mean, maybe 10%, but nothing significant. And we have a lot of tenants, I think, that have expected that, but we haven't had the flood of space come back. So most landlords don't have a lot of spaces to lease, and just are not willing to greatly reduce the rent. I think that they do a little better mix with concessions. We're doing a fair number of leases where they're getting 2 to 3 months up front free. And a lot of that, again, has to do with, well, can they be open? What if they get closed again? So landlords have been willing to do a little more in the way of concessions.
And those are new? Anything for renewals that the landlords are doing for them, or?
Really depends on how key the tenants are, like to different shopping centers. We have reduced the rents for some tenants, but those were tenants that, probably went in at, let's say, $225 a square foot in a grocery anchored center. They've now had 5 years of 3% increases. Well, they're really well above market.
Gotcha.
So we're maybe getting them back down to the 2 to 225 range.
And Roger, in your area, are you also seeing a fairly stable price on commercial retail?
Yeah, I mean, I concur with just about everything that Maggie said. It's what we've seen as far as retail is it's almost a wait and see attitude. I haven't seen a pullback by way of rents. I think if there is any discussion as far as lease negotiations, moving or extending leases, in some cases, some tenants are coming up on options that are very high options that may elect to try to renegotiate. That seems to be very popular. But Maggie made a great point in that most of the tenants that have been on these leases, we're paying a high retail amount. Well, depending on their area, but for the most part, retail rents were relatively high. And I'm calculating those based on triple net leases. There is a difference between some ownership properties that do in fact have retail spaces, very few, but some have modified gross leases versus triple net leases. I think the triple net leases are more inclined to kind of pull back a little bit to make sure they cover those net charges, just to keep the tenants in there. But no, I agree. I mean, what Maggie's experiencing in the in the low desert is affecting the Inland Empire regionally as well.
Okay, Eileen Esky has a couple of questions here. The first one is, have we seen any activity in office buildings exploring to convert to condos?
I haven't.
Okay.
No, and I would also say that I have not as well. I mean, it's it's an interesting concept. I think if someone were going to convert an existing office building to a condo development, I think it would necessarily need to be a building that probably would be easily converted to maybe medical condo. And I would assume probably there's a demand in the low desert as well for that. But I would say that medical condos are probably, if someone were to do that, and I don't know of anyone that's converting it. I know there was talk about one in Corona, but if someone were to do that, I would say that medical would be the only way to go. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, Eileen wants us to pull out our crystal balls here for this one. Can you ballpark vacancy rates for office, retail, and industrial? What we're expecting to see perhaps by the end of the year?
Oh, by the end of the year? By the end of the year, I don't think, I don't foresee there being much change off of the numbers right now. I think that the market is still trying to absorb. I mean, we have office, I think, is going to be affected probably more, I would say probably more than any of the other. Retail's been, don't get me wrong, retail's been battered for the last, 10, 15 years, but I think office is going to have, I think, a larger impact year over year moving forward. And what that number is, I really don't know. Most of my trust clients that own office buildings, we have several of them. Most of their nonprofit clients have just gone home. They're utilizing the internet to have their meetings, and they're not paying rent. And so whether or not they come back, it's very unlikely, I think, that they'll come back. And some of them are very large tenants. I
see. And Maggie?
Well, industrial is the easiest one because we don't have any industrial planned, right? And we're at what, 2 to 3% vacancy?
If that.
Right? So that one's easy. I don't see the massacre in the office market the way people expected. I see an increase in businesses wanting to buy their own little individual little buildings, like the 5,000 to 6,000 square foot buildings. We've really had a lot of offers on that type of product. But you kind of have two things going on. One is, I think a lot of people are pretty sick and tired of working from home and miss the camaraderie of being together as a group, right? Yeah, now I know, me too. And the other thing, you have a group, I'm going to pull out Desert Oasis Healthcare because I've worked with them a lot, and they have administrative offices where they had the little 2x3 or 3x3 cubicles. Well, they're now going to need more square footage because they need to create more space between their employees.
Mm-hmm.
So I just haven't seen I haven't heard people say so often, oh, I love this working from home and I'll never go back into the office.
Gotcha. Now, another question from Joan McPherson. What are we seeing in vacancy rates for retail and office space? Now, we haven't really said that we're seeing a whole lot of absorption, but I don't know that that was exceptionally strong before back in February. Are we still, where are we, around 10%?
Yeah, we're around 10% for retail and about 12% for office. I mean, the office recovery's been awful since 2008 when we just got so overbuilt.
Mm-hmm.
And we were finally, I think, getting to a point where we were seeing it come down from big major numbers like 20%, 18%, and we got it down to about 12%, where if we hadn't had the pandemic, I think that would have certainly continued. And really, if you go and you look for nice Class A office space, you used to have 6 to 8 choices. You now have 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then the retail, I don't know. Again, I'm surprised. I thought we'd never do a lease on El Paseo this summer, and we've done 2. One was an expansion of an existing clothing store, which I think is great and shows a lot of confidence. And another is real estate office. Now that we can, with a conditional use permit, do offices on El Paseo. So, like I said, we're at about 10%, and I don't really see that that's grown yet, but there may be this next wave, as I said, if the businesses have trouble through next season.
Excellent, excellent. Roger, do you have anything that you wanted to add on that one?
No.
Okay. And then we have a question from Stephanie Taylor. If we have people working from home and for extended periods of time, and maybe kids, et cetera, becoming distracting, might we see individuals looking for small individual office spaces? I think that kind of rolls into the idea of possibly condoing out or creating those larger facilities that have that reception area and then the individual offices there. Is there any landlords that are looking at converting to that, or is that even on the horizon yet?
I think Steve Lyle with his building at Fred Waring in Washington is converting to more of that. And I thought it was interesting. We help out Coachella Valley Economic Partnership with some leasing where they have kind of the WeWork sort of layout.
Is that the
in
iHub?
Palm Springs, and we've had some high school students lease the cubicles or the workspaces to get out of their homes and go and do their schoolwork.
Okay. I thought they were like starting up a business.
No.
Yeah, I think this is there is a strong demand for the executive suite. And the conversion of that into the 150 square foot, 300 square foot office space. That's going to continue. That's been going on for probably at least the last 10 years, where there has been a bit of a downside. People don't need the larger offices. I think the individual small businesses, I think the single person, I don't think they really need the larger offices. So I think executive suites are going to continue. I think it's a great opportunity for some office building owners within reason, if you can adjust the costs. I mean, everything, I look at property strictly as an investment. So, I mean, if it pencils out, it makes a lot of sense to do it. There's a demand for that product.
Excellent. And this is going to come from me. And obviously this depends upon the type of building that you have available, but if you had a building that was seeing a little bit of vacancy, but it could be converted possibly to a more industrial space, do you think it would behoove cities to possibly rezone or maybe CUP that building so that we could gain a little bit more supply on the industrial side?
I do. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big about, I don't mind mixed use and mixing things up. I think we're a little too controlling in that. And, you know, it's so easy to convert to more of a showroom or warehouse type of use that I think it'd be great.
Roger, do you see that? I'm not quite sure where you are on your supply out there.
I think anytime you can take a multi-tenant building, convert it to flex or industrial type of a space, you know, you're following market trends. You know, the vacancies are very low in these within this product, so it makes a lot of sense for owners to, you know, to evaluate that if it's possible. But it does. You know, the interesting thing about the low desert is you have so many different municipalities within a small area, and so just to be able to compete regionally, I mean, it's really not a regional kind of a thing, because you have so many different jurisdictions with regards to zoning that some areas will cater more than maybe others as far as industrial use. I don't see a project going in Indian Wells, you know, with a multi-tenant with roll-up doors. So, you know, it's, but no, it definitely is. I concur with what Maggie said. Definitely.
Now, in regards to possible new businesses starting up in response to COVID-19, are we seeing anything that's expanding, such as perhaps janitorial or cleaning services? I suppose credit repair might be something that would be increasing. Is there anything that you guys are seeing that might be, well, things might be going out, some new things might be coming in?
With regards to the leasing aspect on that, I've just seen more lateral moves than I have really expansions of certain segments of the market related to COVID-19. It's primarily the leasing, and like I said, I mean, I've done more leasing since COVID started than I have in probably 15 years, and it was, and it's just I don't go out and seek leasing as a rule, but when my clients ask me to, then I do. But with regards to that, most of it's been lateral moves, some expansions, surprisingly. Most of them have been in the, two of them I think were with engineering companies. But like I said, I haven't worked from home since this began. I mean, I've been in the office every single day. So, and I figure most people have too.
Excellent. Maggie, have you seen any new types of businesses that have come about in regards, or expansions of those businesses?
Well, I certainly see the residential real estate offices expanding. We've done a couple of new ones. I think I mentioned we did one on El Paseo. We did one in Indian Wells. And I think we've got some interest from some others. So, you know, our home sales are, there's probably people that know much more than I do about it, but it just sounds like they are going through the roof. And I know that a couple of the buyers that I'm working with who are looking at some of the small office buildings we have for sale are business people that lived in the Los Angeles area, maybe had a second home out here, and they've now made this area their primary home.
And that brings a very interesting aspect. Do you in 2021, 2022 expect to see some influx from the more urban areas that seem to be having difficulties in regards to, well, let's just say difficulties?
We're seeing it now.
And are they primarily coming from LA, Riverside?
LA.
What do you see? LA?
Yeah.
Excellent. Roger, have you seen that at all?
Well, if you're discussing into 2021, 2022, I would probably say the impact even above and beyond um, COVID would be, situations such as Proposition 15 coming up. I mean, things like that concern me a little bit more than even where we're at with COVID.
Yeah, that could definitely be an issue.
Oh,
Other than supply, which we seem to have an issue to be able to create, is there anything else we could be doing to getting ready for this influx that might be coming?
I don't think so. I mean, the clients are similar to the other clients that we've had that are, have been in the valley. So you're right. I think the only thing is, yeah, you could create some more supply, but the good news is I think it's going to absorb a lot of our small office buildings that have been lingering for a while.
Excellent. Does anybody else have any other questions? You guys have bombarded me with a bunch of them, and I was really happy about that. Roger, do you want to possibly do anything to close? Anything that you'd like to, words of wisdom?
I would probably concur with what Maggie had mentioned before with regards to the smaller space getting absorbed. I think you are going to see, you probably will see it in your region as well, a great influx of owner-user opportunities coming up. I would venture to say a lot of those will probably be within medical tenants, engineering firms, accounting firms. But I would say that probably most of them will be acquiring those properties via SBA financing. Seems to make a lot of sense, and I think that is going to continue moving forward.
And do you think, in regards to these people that are making these transitions or moves, do you think they're going to need any kind of banking or governmental help in those transitions, or do you think they'll be able to pretty much do it on their own?
You mean as far as rezoning?
No, financial specifically.
Oh, no, I think SBA will cover most of the medical build out is covered within SBA. And so it's a great opportunity. I mean, the SBA format of acquisition for owner users, I think is the best deal in town, if you will, really. It's a great opportunity with minimal exposure, by the purchaser. And I think it's a great opportunity to put roots in. I think the benefit to that is you create an environment to where even residential sales will benefit from that because someone's putting roots into the community and they're going to continue to stay there. They're going to live there. So there's benefits all the way around.
Excellent, excellent. And Maggie?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with the SBA program is unbelievable. The difference between what somebody would pay in rent compared to what they pay in a mortgage payment. And people I think that the three things that have really stuck out to me through this pretty difficult time is we have a lot of people that have grit and that have courage and that have resilience. And this is something that could, in my opinion, could have been so much worse. And really, from a real estate perspective, it's been bad, and it may continue to be bad for a while, but nothing like what we saw in 2008, 2009, 2010.
Excellent, excellent. Robin, do you have anything that you'd like to say in closing? No? All right. I thank everybody for joining us today, and a special thank you to Roger and Maggie for all of their information, and it's really been very important. If you guys feel that this was beneficial, definitely give a shout out to us at DACIE. Perhaps we can go ahead and do this at the beginning of the year and get an update if everybody thinks that would be beneficial. Thank you, everybody. I think that'll be it for today.